understanding of policy and understanding of the law. So it is a very intellectual process at one end, advocacy, education, and interaction with the government. So I think it's all in one. It is not something that I agree with you. There should be no embarrassment to say that you lobby for a cause, because you do it with all these premises that we talked about.
Just a very quick comment, on when you're talking about the state and central play of issues. You know, we look at many states competing with each other for FDI investments, and you generally see it played out in the media. And what we forget to see is what is the credibility of the country at large. And that is where the central government is really the custodian of that credibility. So, I know of many companies that will go in, invest, and, states are looking at bringing in new investments. They forget about the old investments and they forget about managing those investments. And then things go bad. And where does the central government really come into play? You look at, and as a parallel example, you look at when World Bank or you look at ADB Bank coming in giving funding, they're completely controlled in terms of how their money is spent. And that perspective should be held with the central government. They are responsible for the brand called India. And that is the brand, you're not selling brand Maharashtra, brand Tamil Nadu, you're selling India. And when you're bringing companies in, and that's where they need to be more in control with, especially because a large amount of fundings are still going into the state from the central levels.
Not the central money which is going. Yeah. It's a money raised at the state, pulled
Going
into
back
the
to
center. So it's not my money versus their money.
But it's more about controlling the way states manage investments.
I'm happy about this animated, active discussion.
Yeah,
That's the best way to give back to audience. Yeah.
I would like to add one point here, and would like to again talk about the about simplifying the procedures. Uh, recently, what government did with service tax, they've issued a negative list. Issuing a negative list helps a lot because then it simplifies the whole thing. Anything and everything which is service will be taxed. It's as simple as that. There are only 31 things now which need not to be service tax. Apart from that, anything and everything under the sun will be taxed as a service tax. So introducing a negative list, identifying the subjects, and which needs regulators or administration. Apart from that, let market decide its own course, because that will also solve a lot of problem for the government. This new government is very entrepreneurial in nature, and they are looking forward for new investments from the international players. But the biggest stumbling block for international players to come in India is the red tapeism. There is administration, there is regulator, there is a lot of stumbling blocks everywhere, wherever they go. So my personal example is when we talk to transport department at the center, they are very happy to hear our story. When we go to the state transport authority, they are still happy to hear, but they have some doubts. And when we deal with the people on ground, they don't know what they have to say to us, but they are really confused. And they haven't opened the Motor Vehicles Act from last so many years, and now we have forced them to open the Motor Vehicles Act and see the sections. Oh yeah, you are right, but still, there is something which is stopping us to help you. I don't know what. So these kind of comments are there. We are still struggling with them, but only thing which I feel is government should simplify the procedures, make as many negative lists as possible.
So thanks. So let me open for the question from floor. Please identify yourself and also tell whom you're addressing the question. Mike, please.
Thank you, Mr. Tabriz Ahmed. In fact, you talk about the. I'm sorry, I'm K. Mahesh. I'm Special Commissioner Industries in Delhi government. And I think you should have a government representative in your panel when you talk about involving all the stakeholders and talking about public policy. But anyway, what I would do, I have a few comments to make. Number one, is that look, the government is moving. We are moving, to transparency through the RTI, through the Public Services Delivery Act, a number of measures have been initiated. But the corporate sector also needs to be transparent. In fact, we have the RTI. What prevents RTI being applied to the corporate sector? That can be worked out. What could be worked out as things which could be covered under the RTI covering the corporate sector, and things which should not be disclosed in the corporate sector. That those things can be worked out. But nothing prevents us from moving to have to include the corporate sector under the RTI Act. South Africa has done that, and that will also enrich kind of public policy. It will give us a lot of inputs. That's number one. Number two, the problem in public policy, as I see it, there's a problem of evidence-based public policy. Now, that's the key. If Britain has not suffered because of its integration with the EU monetary union, it is because the civil servants gave 21 reasons why UK should not be part of the European Union monetary union, and that has saved Britain. If Margaret Thatcher lost the elections, again the civil servants had advised her, look, these are the reasons, don't enforce this tax, blah blah. She did not, and she lost the election. What I want to say is there is a need for evidence-based policy making. Now, if you need evidence-based policy making, you also need to have an interface with the research bodies, to have a kind of interface with the think tanks. On every issue, you need to identify which are the think tanks in health, in education sector, technology sector, and you got to have that kind of an interface to have informed decision making in public policy. But does India have that kind of research institutions? If you look at her IITs, look at her IIMs, what is their global ranking? We don't have a very strong kind of research-based bodies in this country, and because of that, we lose a lot of our ranking. That's the second problem as I see it. Quite often our public policy, they are challenged in the courts because they are contrary to law, contrary to rules. That's another problem. And even if you look at the academic world, the universities, teaching of public policy, since you don't have a representative from the government, I thought I must flag these issues. So just give me just half a minute, I'll wind up. If you look at academic institutions in this country, the universities, public policy is not taught the manner in which it should be taught. It's not part of the curriculum. It's not part of the course. University has started that. And the threat to the public policy is, just for a sec, is from the corporate sectors are having the research institutions, and they are serving their own interests. The Reliance has couple of these corporate giants, and you can't compete with them. They come out with glossy report.
You made very excellent points, evidence-based and institutional.
Stop then, Mr. Tabriz.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Let me have one more question.
Yeah, but
one more question.
you are eating into the another panel's time. If he permits, I don't have an objection.
As organized. But before that, I have got excellent suggestion that today is 26/11, Bombay. We should remember all those who died, all those who suffered. So I suggest 1 minute, 1 minute का मौन रख ले, okay? So.
Thank you very much. You will get more than 1 minute. May I request Sujit Ghosh to present memento to Mr. Tabriz Ahmed? I'm sorry, but I don't have a choice. Can you give next? Next.
Yes, look here. Hello. Yeah.
Ms. Krishna. Mr. Dr. Gaurav Arya. Mr. Rajiv Patwar. Now Mr. Avinash. Okay.
Yeah, okay, hello.
Yeah. Thank you very much, panelists. And I now request Mr. Sujit Bose for his next panel.